What you got so many guns for? What are you afraid of? Less than you might think. In the Great American Gun Controversy, which is really only controversial by those who want to make it controversial, I find the position of gun control to be a most unenviable one to take. It's because its arguments are the hardest to substantiate and defend. Look at it. Statistics are not really on their side. Neither is the general experience of gun ownership in this country, including its history. And of course, law, namely the Constitution, is not on their side either. Matters are complicated further still by the very virtue that most of them are not gun owners. Many of them have never fired a gun, and very few of them have ever carried a gun in public. And so the experience component of their argumentation tends to be lacking. And with this goes a lack of interest in understanding the pertinent laws that are connected with legal gun ownership and carrying a gun in public. Also, the statistics they tend to use for themselves are very narrowly focused instead of giving a much more broader picture of gun ownership experience here in America. So how do you build a persuasive argument with such little material to work on? Well, gun control advocates tend to major on emotions and assumptions. Only as it is pertinent to this video, they're making assumptions about emotions, about what motivates gun owners to own guns and carry guns. And with assumptions come a lot of stuff that's left out. And here is what's missing. In the eyes of most gun rights advocates, the main motivator for owning a gun or carrying a gun in public is not fear. Rather, it is a preference for more options. You see, if you happen to find yourself in a violent situation, you have more options available to you to manage that situation if you are armed than if you are not. Now, gun control advocates believe something quite different. They tend to believe that if you have the gun on your person, it is more than likely to be used against you. However, a report that was issued by the Obama administration in 2013 says something quite different. The report dedicates a few paragraphs to the defensive use of guns, and in that section, it is discovered that guns used in defense is quite common, and in fact happens at least as often as the criminal use of guns. Furthermore, it says that an armed person is less likely to sustain injuries when attacked. What might not be as obvious to some people reading the report are the numbers given. You see, gun control advocates love to say how some 33,000 lives are lost to guns every year, most of those due to suicide. However, even the most conservative estimate of defensive gun use given by this report is 108,000. That's 3 times the number of lives saved. What's more, even more moderate and even higher end estimates of defensive gun uses outstrip the number given for violent crime committed by guns. What all this says is that guns are a net benefit to society instead of a net liability. But a point that really challenges gun control advocates' assumptions that gun owners are driven primarily by fear is a more practical one. You cannot be afraid of this and have it close to your body. You cannot be afraid of having a live round in the chamber. You cannot be afraid of the possibility that you might have to use this against someone in the defense of your own life or the lives of others. And furthermore, you cannot be afraid of the consequences that would follow, psychological and legal. Therefore, whenever I see someone openly carrying a gun, or I know that they're carrying concealed, I don't get suspicious about their motives, because I'm pretty sure that they have made a very sober choice to take their personal defense seriously. Now, gun control advocates will look at the exact same person and reach a completely different conclusion, and I think this really shows on whose side the fear really lies. You see, a common objection I often hear against open and concealed carry is, how do I know if he's a good guy or a bad guy? And the question I have is, why even suspect him of criminal activity in the first place? Unfortunately, it seems that it is the gun control lobby that fosters this sort of an attitude. And this was put on flagrant display about 2 years ago during Texas's battle for open carry. One particularly prominent gun control organization put this on their social media, encouraging others to foster a paranoid view about open carry practitioners. And this attitude was echoed by the multitudes of gun control sympathizers on social media during that period, and unfortunately is still echoed today. A lot of them were encouraging the swatting of carry practitioners. Now, those of us gun rights advocates who bothered to address them and call them out on this said, not a good idea. You are going to be playing with assault charges if you do this. They just blew us off. I mean, what do people who keep abreast of the law know? And it was only a matter of time before somebody decided he would make an example of himself. Michael Foster of Tampa Bay decided that he would tackle, completely unprovoked, a legally licensed carry practitioner. Assault and battery charges were slapped upon him. We told you so. And all of this hysteria, all of these shenanigans could easily be avoided with a little better education. And what better place to get it from those who have the knowledge and the experience? Seek these folk out. They won't bite you. Go shooting with them once. You may not like it. You may not turn into an NRA member, and that's okay. Because at least you will have a little experience to go on and not ignorance, and therefore no fear.